At Father's Day dinner, my son Ethan raised his glass and said, "To the man who fed me, raised me, and showed me what I never want to be, a failure like him." The table burst into laughter, and he placed a letter on the table. "You are accepted to the Golden Oaks prime residence." I raised my glass, looked him straight in the eye, and said, "To the son who thinks this is the end of my story." His smile faded. He did not know that I had one final move, and he was not prepared for it. This betrayal sparked a rage in me that would shatter everything they had schemed. Before we go on, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are tuning in from in the comments. The clatter of silverware stopped as Ethan stood, glass in hand. His face twisted into that familiar smirk I had seen too many times while he grew up. Half charming, half something crueler. The upscale Manhattan restaurant hummed with Father's Day cheer. Families toasting around us under sparkling crystal chandeliers that sprinkled golden flecks on the white tablecloths. Sophia sat beside him, her perfectly manicured fingers tapping lightly on the stem of her wineglass, her eyes darting between us as if she were weighing the chances. A few cousins and an aunt completed the table, their smiles courteous but anticipating. "To the man who fed me, raised me, and showed me what I never want to be, a failure like him." Ethan's voice rang out, laced with fake warmth that never touched his eyes. Laughter exploded, sharp and awkward, my cousin shifting uneasily in her seat, while my aunt forced a laugh, her napkin twisting in her lap. Sophia nodded along, her lips curving into what she likely thought was sympathetic support. I felt the words hit like a punch to the gut, heat rising in my chest, but I kept my face composed. Years of high-stakes boardroom deals had taught me not to show weakness first. The aroma of grilled steak and garlic butter, so appealing just moments before, now felt heavy and suffocating in the tense air. Ethan was not finished. He reached into his jacket pocket and slid a crisp envelope across the table toward me, the paper sliding softly against the cloth. "And because we care, Dad, we've handled it all. You're accepted to Golden Oaks prime spot, assisted living with every luxury. Deposit already paid. It's time you took it easy." The brochure inside shone under the lights, glossy pages showing cheerful elders in well-kept gardens, playing cards in bright lounges. Phrases like compassionate care and secure settings stood out. But I read the hidden meaning: inadequacy, irrelevance. My hand gripped it, the edges cool and pointed. A brief shake ran through my fingers before I steadied myself. Memories flashed. Late nights going over Ethan's college applications. Selling assets to pay his tuition after the divorce left me struggling. I had rebuilt step by step, transforming that small real estate company into a strong enterprise, all while he pursued risky ventures that always fell short. "Why now?" I asked, my voice low but steady, flipping through the pages without looking up. The waiter lingered nearby, plates balanced, sensing the change, but acting oblivious. His arrival offered a short reprieve as he placed desserts that no one ate. Ethan leaned in, elbows on the table. "Come on, Dad, you're 68. That large house in the suburbs, it's too much to handle. Accidents happen, memory slips. We're just watching out for you." Sophia joined in, her tone as smooth as polished marble. "It's a lovely facility. Nash, you'd have friends, activities, better than wandering alone." Alone. The word hurt, reminding me of the empty rooms since the divorce ended 10 years ago. But then I noticed it, the quick look between them, Ethan's jaw clenching slightly, Sophia's eyes sharpening like she had found a loophole in a deal. My house was not just a home, it was valuable property in a booming neighborhood. The type developers dreamed of. They had suggested selling it before, disguised as worry, but this was a push. The laughter had stopped, the table quiet now, save for the faint buzz of other talks in the distance. I lifted my glass slowly, the wine catching the light, and locked eyes with Ethan. His smirk wavered as I said, "To the son who thinks this is the end of my story." The clink rang out too loudly in the silence, a few glasses joining mine hesitantly. Ethan's smile vanished, replaced by a flash of doubt, Sophia's hand pausing mid-reach for her napkin. I set the glass down with careful poise, pushed back my chair, and rose. The brochure remained on the table, like a forgotten stage prop. "Enjoy the rest of the meal," I said, nodding to the group, my voice level. Ethan's mouth opened, but I turned, moving through the busy dining room, the door's brass handle cool under my palm as I stepped out into the lively street. The restaurant door swung closed behind me, muffling Ethan's call. "Dad, wait, let's discuss this." I did not pause. The Manhattan sidewalk pulsed with evening crowds, taxis honking in the traffic jam. A light drizzle had begun, misting the air and slicking the pavement. But it felt refreshing, rinsing away the stale strain from inside. I flagged a cab, slipping into the back seat, the leather creaking as I gave the driver Margaret's address in Brooklyn. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Ethan, most likely. But I let it go, gazing out at the blurring city lights as we drove off. Relief caught me off guard, sudden and keen, like removing a burdensome coat. For years, I had twisted myself for him, forgiving the jabs as stress from his average job, his growing debts from poor investments. But that toast, it made it all clear. As the cab crossed the bridge, the East River dark and swirling below, I clutched the door handle, my mind racing. I needed insight. Someone who could see past the pretenses. Margaret had been that support since the divorce. Her straightforward guidance had pulled me through when Sophia's attorneys tried to take everything. The ride dragged on, rain tapping harder on the roof, the wipers sweeping in steady rhythms. My phone buzzed again, twice more, voicemails building, but I muted it, concentrating on the glow of dashboard lights on wet roads. By the time we arrived at her brownstone, the area calm under street lamps, my heartbeat had settled into focused determination. Margaret opened the door before I knocked, her gray hair pulled back, reading glasses on her nose as if she had been deep in documents. "Nash, at this time of night, come in. You look like you've encountered a specter." Her living room welcomed me, soft lamplight on overflowing bookshelves packed with law books, and a faint aroma of chamomile tea in the air. I sank into the armchair, taking the mug she handed me. Father's Day did not go as expected. I retold the dinner, the toast's bite, the brochure's offense. My words controlled but laced with the fury I had restrained. Margaret listened, pacing slowly, her keen eyes narrowing. "That sounds like more than worry," she said at last, stopping by the window where rain streaked the pane. "Ethan's been in financial trouble. Sophia's startup collapsed last year, left them drowning in debt. Your house could sell for a fortune now, with the market surging." I nodded, the pieces fitting together. They had exchanged glances like partners in crime. My phone sat quiet on the coffee table, but the ignored calls weighed on me. Margaret went to her desk, sorting through a pile of mail. "This came yesterday, addressed to me, but I believe it was intended for someone else. Perhaps Ethan assumed I would sway you." She passed me an envelope postmarked from his workplace. Inside, a letter outlined the nursing home effort, portraying me as increasingly forgetful and vulnerable, with a note at the end. "Once he's placed, we can put the property on the market. It should cover the deficit, and then some." The words blurred briefly, the betrayal deepening, but it kindled a sharp focus. "They thought you would persuade me," I whispered, folding the paper neatly, my fingers now firm. Margaret leaned on the desk, arms folded. They're underestimating you, Nash. They always have. Remember the divorce you fought back then? Step by step. This is the same. Her words ignited determination, the room's warmth enveloping me like protection. But as I glanced at the clock, approaching midnight, my doubt turned to certainty. This was not mere greed. It was a scheme with weaknesses I could target. I rose, thanking her, the letter in my pocket like a tool. The rain had lightened as I went out, hailing another cab for home, the city lights now promising more than darkness. The bridge curved ahead as I held the wheel, the letter from Ethan's office still creased in my pocket, its edges digging into my thigh like a constant nudge. The drive back from Brooklyn stretched into the early morning, the city skyline appearing through a dawn haze. Traffic light as rush hour had not started. Rain had turned to misty fog, matching the whirl in my thoughts. How had years of quiet help twisted into this deliberate push? I turned into my driveway in the suburbs just outside Manhattan, the familiar gravel crunch under the tires steadying me. Though the house seemed bigger now, a target of what they sought to take. Unlocking the front door, I entered the silent foyer, the air still holding the faint scent of last night's coffee. Mail had accumulated on the entry table during my absence, envelopes scattered like broken vows. I sorted them carefully, bills and ads leading to a thicker package from a local real estate agency. My fingers stopped at the seal, a shiny logo shouting greed. Ripping it open, I laid the contents on the kitchen counter, the papers fluttering in the breeze from an open window. Initial valuation notes glared back, listing square footage, recent sales in the area, and an estimated price that twisted my gut, high enough to rescue any failing venture. Ethan's name was in the client field, with a remark about readying for quick sale after relocation. Relocation. The term echoed the nursing home brochure, tying their plot in bold print. I walked the kitchen, the cool granite counter under my palms as I leaned over, checking dates. They had started this weeks before the dinner surprise. A memory rose, sending money for Ethan's first business after college. His thankful calls then now sounded empty against this disloyalty. The discovery fueled a steady anger, but I directed it. Grabbing my phone, Olivia's number was on speed dial, her voice answering on the second ring, drowsy but attentive. "Dad, is everything all right? It's early." I retold the dinner, adding Margaret's letter and the new papers, my tone even but sharp. They're not just nudging me out. They've got appraisers ready, eyes on the house like it's theirs already. Her reply came quick, a gasp breaking through. What Ethan wouldn't... Wait, yes he would. That viper. Sophia's likely pulling the strings. She's always plotted behind those smiles. I'm on my way. Give me an hour to dress and drive from Connecticut. No need to hurry. But yes, I could use the support. We spoke longer, her questions digging deep. Had I seen their debts growing? Hints at family events where Sophia avoided career talk. I confessed the warnings I had dismissed, like Ethan's vague requests for loans last year linked to her startup failure. They poured everything into some app that bombed, millions in debt from what I've gathered. Olivia's voice sharpened, outraged. That's no reason to trample you. I'll be there soon. We'll handle this. The call closed with her car starting in the background, her anger bolstering my solitude. I placed the phone down, its screen glowing with another notification. One from Ethan, ignored. Morning sun streamed through curtains, casting long shadows on the papers, and I organized them into a folder. First actions against their plan. As I waited, brewing fresh coffee, My thoughts turned tactical, legal options, safeguards I had missed. The doorbell sounded earlier than planned. Drawing me to the hall, a solid knock echoed, snapping me from my reverie as I tidied the folder on the counter. I opened the door to Olivia, her cheeks red from the drive, hair tousled by wind, eyes determined. She entered without words, giving me a swift hug that loosened the tightness in my chest for a moment. "Dad, show me it all. We're not letting them escape this." We went to the living room, papers spread on the coffee table like a battle plan. Olivia reviewed them, her fingers following the valuation numbers. "This is deliberate. We need experts. Margaret's the one." "Right, your lawyer friend." I nodded, calling Margaret as Olivia paced. "She's keen. Already saw through that letter." Margaret agreed to meet downtown at a quiet cafe near her former office. Neutral territory, away from watchful eyes. We took our coats. The brief drive into Manhattan filled with shared quiet. Olivia gripping the passenger door as if preparing for a jolt. The cafe buzzed gently, midday visitors murmuring over laptops, the scent of fresh espresso mixing with the sour edge of our mission. Margaret waited at a corner booth, her briefcase open, glasses low on her nose. "Brought the originals?" she asked, her voice sharp and businesslike. We passed the documents over, Olivia adding, "And this power of attorney form, Ethan sent it last month, saying it was just in case. Dad didn't sign." Margaret inspected it under the booth's light, her finger tracing the signature line. The ink appeared wrong, uneven force, where my name curved in a way I never did. "This isn't yours." Nash, forged sloppily at that. "Sophia's doing. As an ex-lawyer, she should know better. But desperation muddles judgment." Olivia leaned forward, voice pressing. "Can we confirm it? Hit them hard legally." "Handwriting expert. Timestamps absolutely. But we gather quietly." Margaret's review continued, highlighting date mismatches connected to the appraisal. I took it in, our partnership strengthening like cement, recalling Frederick's help in previous transactions where his financial expertise had protected my holdings during the divorce, a loyalty that now felt vital. My phone buzzed during the talk, screen showing Frederick's name. I picked up, on speaker. "Nash, good I reached you. Ethan's been poking at your investment accounts. Called my office yesterday claiming power of attorney. I delayed him, but warning, the statement hung, heightening the tension. Olivia's eyes grew wide, Margaret nodding wisely. "That's attempted fraud. We catch them with this." Frederick went on, tone serious. "Keep alert. Sophia's name came up in the query too. Call if you need me to secure things." Ending the call, we clustered closer, ideas flowing, tracking their actions, collecting more evidence without warning them. Drive built, a solid team against the avarice. But as a text from Ethan arrived, "We need to talk, Dad." I felt the net closing, our strategy just starting to counter. With the cafe noise dimming behind us, I took out my phone to set things moving, the scattered notes from our meeting still fresh in my pocket, like plans for a much-needed settling of scores. Olivia squeezed my arm before driving back to Connecticut, her farewell words a soft encouragement. "Stay vigilant. Dad, we're behind you." Margaret had already sent legal tips on discreet recordings, stressing state rules that permitted one-party consent in private residences. Back home, I tweaked the approach a bit, choosing a concealed voice recorder hidden in a sideboard drawer, its app linked to my phone for safety. The following evening came fast. My setup done as I arranged plates on the dining table, the silverware shining under gentle overhead lights that flickered once, as if aware of the tension. I called Ethan, leaning on the counter, voice calm to hide the tactic. "Son, let's discuss that nursing home suggestion. Dinner here tomorrow. Sophia, too. We can work out the details." His hesitation stretched. Then agreement came cautious, tinged with shock. "Really, okay, Dad, we'll come. 7 work," Sophia's voice murmured in the background. Consenting. They showed up promptly, Ethan offering a bottle of red with strained friendliness, his handshake stronger than normal. Sophia followed, her smile refined, but eyes surveying the room like an appraiser. We sat at the table. The recorder started quietly from my phone app, its subtle indicator light concealed in my lap. I poured wine, guiding small talk to the brochure they had abandoned. "Golden Oaks seems reliable. What drew you to it?" Ethan eased into his chair, fork swirling pasta. "It's highly rated. Dad, safe, fun. Better than handling this place by yourself." Sophia nodded, adding effortlessly, "And with the market booming, moving could release funds for all of us." I questioned softly, handing the breadbasket. "Funds, you mean selling the house?" The phrase lingered, an intentional prompt. Sophia took a sip of wine, her glass shaking faintly in her hold. "Well, yes, once you're settled. Listing it would pay expenses. Perhaps settle some burdens we have pending." Ethan's foot tapped hers under the table, but she pressed on, voice lowering. "Our startup debts are overwhelming us. Loans from that app disaster. The value here, it would clear everything. Give us space to breathe." The confession dropped like a pin, recorded in clear digital form. I nodded impassively, mind speeding through old family meals, where joy flowed easily, now tainted by this disguised admission, clashing with those recollections. "Debt's that severe, eh? You never shared the full story." Ethan moved, diverting. "It's short term. This is good for you too. No more concerns." But Sophia's gaze flickered, sensing the error, her napkin wrung in her lap. We ended the meal with awkward chatter, my queries circling money without pushing too far. As they departed, Ethan patted my shoulder. "Glad you're warming up, Dad." Sophia repeated it, her embrace short and chilly, alone. I fetched the device, listening back to the audio in the dim kitchen, Sophia's words resounding incriminatingly. Plan to sell. Debts as reason. Victory stirred, but so did a strand of grief for what family had turned into. The file stored safely. I considered next moves, proof piling like stacked evidence, set to collapse their web of deceit. The city skyline receded in the rear view as I drove toward insights from the past, the audio file copied to a thumb drive in the glove box, its disclosures still echoing in my ears like a stubborn reminder. The trip to Karen's home in Connecticut took an hour, traffic easing as Manhattan's rush yielded to tree-lined roads, allowing me time to absorb the dinner's yield. Karen and I had separated on good terms after the divorce, distance building from mutual sorrows, but holiday cards maintained a slim connection. I parked at her simple colonial, the porch light glowing warmly that softened a touch in the evening mist. She answered before I knocked, her face easing in surprise, gray strands in her hair catching the light. "Nash, this is out of the blue. Come in. Tea." We settled in her warm kitchen, mugs steaming on the wooden table. An old family picture on the fridge caught my eye. A younger us with Ethan smiling widely, a symbol of better days now shaded with sarcasm. I led into the purpose, noting the Father's Day trick without all the facts. Ethan's pressing strongly for shifts has me thinking about old habits. Karen stirred her tea slowly, spoon clinking on the cup. Habits like the cash he borrowed a few years ago. Said it was for a work charity, aiding children or such. I gave him $15,000, no doubts. Her revelation paused, urging me to lean in, and it wasn't. She stood, pulling a folder from a drawer, edges faded like buried truths. Emails here, check copies. It funded a Las Vegas getaway with Sophia. Lavish. From what I learned later, he said sorry vaguely, but the falsehood lingered. She handed it over. Papers opening to show bank wires. Messages vowing payback that never arrived. I scanned the flaws. Obvious. Dates matching their startup start. Excuses as thin as the sheets. A memory emerged. Karen and I amid the divorce, sharing calm coffees where she promised to guard Ethan from our split. Her candor now a link from that compassion. Why hold on to this? Her voice gentled. Sorry. Hoped he would grow. But if it's harming you now, take it. He's my boy, but justice counts. We conversed more, her views adding to the recording, a trail of dishonesty reaching back. A tear shone in her eye as she confessed. I let it go on too long, believing it was just immaturity. I touched her hand, saying no fault. The swap locked in more evidence for my collection. On the drive home, folders safe next to the drive. My phone pinged with a message from Ethan. Heard you saw Mom. All good. Alertness tingled. Pressure rising as I gripped the wheel harder. Legal steps needing speed. The suburbs blurred behind as Karen's folder shifted beside me, pushing bolder actions amid the highway drone back toward Brooklyn, where Margaret's firm advice waited. The drive mixed with thoughts of Ethan's text. His all good, a subtle check showing unease fraying. I arrived at her place as twilight fell. The papers held like weapons, summarizing the visit quickly over her doorstep. Karen's evidence locks the pattern. Now we strengthen. Inside, Olivia had come. Her laptop on the dining table, presenting her contact. A forensic handwriting expert named Laura, slender with glasses framing focused eyes. Laura's top-notch. Owes me from a job last year. We spread the power of attorney form, its fake mark stark under a small lamp. Laura set up from her bag. She magnified the loops and pressures. Notice the pause in the downstroke, your examples flow smooth. This one's copied, uneven ink flow. Her explanation was precise. Pointer marking each defect as Olivia noted it down. Clear fake, affidavit for court by tomorrow. Margaret paced with coffee. Absorbed this while sketching the lawsuit. Fraud, elder abuse, we connect the recording, Karen's files, this forgery. I'll write the petition tonight, file quietly tomorrow. Her tone held accuracy. A plan emerging as I called Frederick on a secure app, his image blurring briefly on screen. Nash, run me through the assets. I outlined accounts, properties, the memory rising, post-divorce hustle, late-night pacts, and vacant plots that grew my holdings from nothing. Now at-risk prizes to defend. Frederick handled shifts remotely, funds moving to unchangeable trusts, clicks echoing my orders, secured offshore if needed, but U.S. access kept. They'll run into barriers. A day of coordinated efforts later. We stopped to breathe. Laura packing her gear as Olivia pressed my shoulder. We're protected now, but speed matters. I went home to collect basics. The suburban roads hushed under lamps. At the door, key and lock. It stuck. Turned again, no give. Pulse quickening. I tried the back. Same resistance. A neighbor's porch light turned on. Mrs. Harlan looking out. Nash. Ethan's team was here earlier. Locksmith. Service van. Said repairs. But lights are dark inside. Her murmur carried over the fence. Flashlight beam on my face. Shock spread, but determination set. I called Margaret while backing away. Engine starting as I drove off. Ethan's bold step. A clear force that only honed our advantage. The neighbor's words echoed as I checked into a low-key hotel near Brooklyn. Watchfulness grew with every unchecked form in the lobby mirror. Power off. Locks changed. A rough blockade to bend my will. But I had foreseen hostility. Phone quiet for the moment. I check transfers on my tablet. Balance is safe in havens while texting Olivia. Safe. Speed up the filings. Morning came with a knock. Uniformed officers. Badges shining under hall lights. Mr. York, a report was filed. Your son says you're missing. Perhaps confused. Their queries gentle. Pads ready. I face them steadily. I'm well. Officers. Just a family mix-up. Moved temporarily for calm. They recorded it, leaving with promises of checks. The report form, they handed a clear sign of Ethan's desperation. Back in the room, I drafted a note to him. Know of the report. Safe on my rules. Actions observed. Sent the message. A precise prod. Phone screen confirming before dimming again. Olivia showed up soon, folders in hand. Cops alerted us. Ethan's painting you as unsteady to claim control. Margaret's on speaker. Petition updated. Urgent hearing for restraining order against more meddling. Proof link solid. Mid-talk. Frederick's call cut in. Tone pressing. Looked closer at those investments. Sophia's marks everywhere. Faked transfer papers shifted shares to her dummy firm last week. Notices hidden. But I followed the path. The news hit like a shock. Screen alerts pouring as he sent images. Transfers timed after dinner. Her name in the electronic records. Reflection struck. The secure life I had shaped. Meetings and long nights now shadowed. Calling for recovery. Olivia's eyes sparked. That's outright stealing. Boosts the charges. We planned responses. Margaret revising papers instantly. The room still, broken by key clicks, echoing my rising wrath. As night came, stock evidence added. The hearing neared. A court arena ready for dismantling their trap. The courthouse doors rose as we entered. The load of collected proofs steadying my walk through crowded halls, filled with echoing steps and quiet talks. Olivia at my side, her hand grazing my arm in wordless unity, while Margaret led with briefcase in step, her heels tapping firmly on the stone floors. The courtroom lay beyond thick oak doors, air heavy with varnished wood smell and the soft drone of ceiling lights. We took places at the claimant's bench, the evidence binder, fake papers, audios, stock paths, standing guard before me. The judge came in, robe rustling, gavel calling quiet. As the session started, Margaret stood first, voice firm yet exact. Your Honor, we offer undeniable proof of deceit and abuse, a faked power of attorney, illegal stock moves, and taped confessions of aim to grab assets. She presented the bundle, projector humming alive, showing the forgery's enlarged flaws on the wall. Ethan and Sophia sat across, their attorney objecting smoothly. Objection, pertinence, Mr. York's age implies reduced ability. Family acted for his welfare. But Margaret replied, cueing dinner audio clips, Sophia's voice crackling over speakers. The value here, it would clear the board. Quiet dropped. Ethan's face hardened, whispering fast to Sophia, whose calm front cracked, fingers tapping the bench edge. The judge leaned in, forehead creased. Counsel, summon the witness. A middle-aged lady moved to the stand. Oath given amid the room's stillness, Margaret questioned. You saw this signature despite issues. The lady paused, papers shuffling in her hands. I believed the bringer. Sophia York managed it. Sophia's eyes tightened, a whisper spreading from onlookers as the judge urged, involvement and faking bring consequences. Described the lapse. The woman's discomfort grew, confessions spilling, hasty handling missed warnings, weakening their shield bit by bit. As questioning rose, I watched. A swift recall to early work wins in cramped rooms. Agreements closed with steadfast aim that denied any idea of weakness now thrown at me. Their claims rang false against the rising facts, strain building like a coiled wire. After a brief pause, questioning went on, but gaps widened, Ethan's evasive statements crumbling under probe, Sophia's poise breaking with each fact push. The judge halted shortly, gavel's shade on the seat, summoning my words. Next, in the midst of open challenges, the break closed with a firm strike, calling me to testify where facts would surface. The gavel's ring faded as I stood, steadying on the rail's smooth wood. Oath sworn, voice strong. I started under Margaret's lead. I've handled my money alone for decades, real estate efforts rebuilt after divorce, bringing steady gains. She guided details, and I revealed records. Holdings varied, returns reliable, far from the helplessness they depicted. A memory woke, nights scanning books after the end, building independence that now shielded me. The judge asked, "And these protections?" "Ahead of time, Your Honor, assets to trusts, the house titled to my daughter Olivia weeks back, unchangeable." Papers forwarded, sharp edges cutting the air. Olivia's look meeting mine with silent honor across the space. Ethan's mutter grew, reactin'. "That's dodgin', shows unsteadiness." But I went on. Tone even. Secret reserves they missed. Offshore holdings from valid deals, untouched by their plots. Tension rose as I turned to the offer. Words careful. "I propose a limited settlement. Admit the deceit, return taken money, or face criminal steps. Justice, not destruction, but responsibility." The room moved. Ethan's wince clear, Sophia's fists gripping as the judge considered deeply. Queries came fast, my answers revealing more. Stock paths undone early, their hold slipping, inner force rising, empowerment peaking like a wave long contained. As responses bubbled, Olivia nodding faintly, foes shifting restlessly, the judge balanced the proposal, decisions hanging near. The courtroom hushed as the judge cleared their voice, the ring of my statement still in the tense air. Ethan's eyes flicking to Sophia, her mouth a slim line of restrained resistance. We returned to seats, the bench's shine mirroring the ceiling lights that threw long shades on the floor. Olivia gripped my hand below the table, a quiet tie, while Margaret sorted her pages with poised calm. The judge eyed the files again, voice deep and fair. After examining the proof, fake papers, unsanctioned shifts, and taped aims, I rule the defendant's acts amount to deceit and abuse. The power of attorney is voided, asset takes banned, and the case sent to the district attorney for criminal check. A whisper swept the space, Ethan's posture sagging as if the ruling had real force, Sophia's fingers digging into the bench until her knuckles paled. The gavel struck ending, locking the decision. Prosecutors nodded from the side, hinting at pursuit while a clerk moved papers, informing Sophia of coming ethics panel probes that might revoke her license. Right after the gavel, we met in the quiet corridor, lights buzzing above, clashing with the inner tempest. Ethan neared warily, Sophia following but halting back, arms crossed apart, his voice breaking, soft and pressing. "Dad, I blew it. The debts clouded me," Sophia urged. "But it was my choice. Please, no prosecution. I'll make it right." I held his gaze, the request stirring a short memory of past forgivenesses, ignored debts, excused errors in his young days, now toughened by the betrayal's price. Confession heard, but conditions hold. Return every dollar. Therapy required. And space from forces that drove this. Sophia cut in sharply, voice tipped with refusal. "This is ridiculous. I moved for family security. No fault here." She spun quickly, heels ringing as she left solo, Door closing behind her like a cut bond. Ethan nodded tearfully, regret carving his features as he murmured consents. The corridor clearing around us. Olivia drew me away for a fast talk. Her pride shone, but strains lingered. Shaky accord dangling weak. Coming changes hinting on the edge. 6 months passed. The house vibrant again with known steps as I unlocked the front door each dawn. Sunlight slipping through curtains I pulled wide to greet the day. Those months held firm change. Counseling meetings tracking Ethan's advance through monthly reports. His community group helping debt-burdened homes. A silent amends that mended thin ties. Olivia oversaw the trust smoothly, her stops often. Grandkids' giggles ringing in the yard where playthings now lay scattered. One afternoon I checked aid papers at the kitchen table, directing savings to a senior rights fund. Legal help for those hit by like mistreatments. A mark from the trial. The phone hummed with Ethan's update. Voice careful but sincere. Therapy's aiding. Dad started helping more. Feels proper. Olivia came later with the children. Bags of food for the meal. Her fond jabs easy. Home looks fine. Trust steady. Proud of you standing strong. We readied as one. Slicing veggies amid traded tales. The table appealing with hot plates and new bread. As dusk warmed the space, we sat together. Ethan arriving gently. His change clear and quiet bearing. Grandkids prattled, lightening the mood until I lifted my glass. Words balanced yet kind. To new paths, lessons taken, links repaired. Ethan's reply soft, thankful. Thanks for the shot, Dad, improving each day. Olivia added warmly. Family's resilient now. The toast echoed, glasses chiming with laughs. The disloyalty's shade dimming into a spark for rebirth. Inner power grown. Ties rethought in the soft light of an open window letting in the wind. As the evening deepened, that simple toast lingered in the air. A quiet victory over the shadows of betrayal. Nash York had reclaimed not just his home, but his spirit, proving that true strength blooms from the ashes of deceit. Family bonds, once frayed, now wove tighter, resilient against future storms. What did this story stir in you? Share your impressions in the comments below, and let's exchange thoughts. Have a question about the twists, or a similar tale from your life. Drop it here, so we can discuss and connect more deeply. Your interaction means everything to the channel. Subscribe for more stories that touch the heart. To dive into the next captivating narrative, click the box on the left. Thank you for joining this journey.